Hello, hello. Um, it's been a few days. I got caught up on another live that I did instead of doing my own, and it went really good. There were some there were some things we're going to talk about. I'm just now learning how to do thumbnails and kind of make stuff look a little bit more presentable. But there's something I wanted to bring up right now because everything is getting more and more confusing. And when I say confusing, I mean where things are now happening, not that anything's ever been normal, but things that normally have never happened or starting to happen. The part of it that's abnormal is that no one is talking about it. Very few people are even mentioning what's going on. And I think, and I have a slight idea. I hope I'm wrong. But if what these other scientists and what these other, and when I say scientists, I mean researchers, people who have been studying certain topics, who I follow in other parts of the world, who have been silenced. If what they're saying is correct, then what I'm going to propose to you guys might you might see the difference. You got to excuse my dog park apparel. I really don't want to do these videos. I do love reporting on media. I do like talking about topics, but I feel like it seems as if I'm only doing these because I'm watching a million people and no one's talking about certain things. So I figure there's like a gap, like a niche, and I figure, okay, maybe I'll just stay in this lane and talk about this. I wouldn't mind giving my opinions on the news and other topics, but um, I keep hoping somebody else will do it, and then I don't have to. I can just try to pretend like everything is normal and fine and whatever, but I can't. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but today, oddly enough, Boris Johnson declared that the United Kingdom should give all of their military equipment to the Ukraine and Zelensky, including fighter jets, for a war that was over before it started. Why? No one's asking why all of Europe is literally being demilitarized. FYI, there's no tanks being built right now to replace the tanks being destroyed in Ukraine. The Ukraine is a garbage disposal, and the Russians have the switch, and the Ukraine is a disposal. So all of the equipment, weapons, even the entire fighting force has all been wiped out. The only people there now are mercenaries, and what they're doing now is they have special police driving around Kiev and a couple other cities. And now what they're doing is they're arresting any boys. And if you're 16 or older, they're immediately shipping you to the front lines. They've ran out of soldiers. The Nazis, that the Azov Nazi battalion has all been destroyed. They're gone. So the war has already been over, but no one's declared it. And it feels as almost if Putin knows this is what's going on, and they're purposely demilitarizing the whole of Europe. But what nation, what leaders in their right mind would literally give up all of their equipment and basically be rendered ultimately defenseless against something else? Why would you do that? How do you tell your people that we're going to give all of our weapons and all of our military equipment and all this money to a country that you have no treaties with, a country that's not even a part of the EU, a country that's not a part of NATO? You're just giving it to them knowing that it's a garbage disposal for equipment and personnel. Why would you do that? If you read the title of this live, I'm asking a question: would AI be considered a new species? In my opinion, the answer is absolutely yes. Last night, I was on Clubhouse. Shout out to my guy Hocus 4/5, and it's the weirdest thing. All of a sudden, in that group, there's thousands of people, and we talked about those injections and We explained why you should stay away from them. We went over in detail all the latest data. It's crazy. Like two out of three of those people that were on the same side as me, where we're sharing information, we knew to stay away from it. We agreed that it was a test. I see those people now literally in those groups screaming and yelling about something called ChatGPT. It's apparently all the rage. Literally, people are in there arguing and fighting and getting angry over something that they barely have used it for 2 weeks. But they're in there going crazy. They sound like those pro-injection people who were just saying, just trust the science, trust Fauci, just do it. You might as well. You do everything else. You might as. These people are using the same excuse when it comes to the ChatGPT. I'm like sitting here like, okay, why the fuck are you going so hard? Why are you so adamant about using something that is unknown to you? You really don't even know how to use it. You don't know how to use it properly. It's really no different than Google the way you're using it. Why are you so adamant about this is a life changer? It's going to do you've done nothing with it. But they're in the group screaming and having arguments. It was damn near like the cult from the jab people converted these non-jab. Like it was that easy to shift. Like all of a sudden people are defending AI. Why? Because you want to make it easier for you to write shit because you're that fucking lazy. You don't want to write your own stuff. You don't want to process your own stuff. Don't get me wrong. I used to use spell check all the time too. And then you realize it made the next generation dumb as shit compared to you. Just like a calculator would make the next generation dumb as shit compared to the previous people that had to use, pencil and paper and actually do equations in their mind. So if these small advancements made people, the next generation, dumber, then what the fuck would a AI, ChatGPT, what do you think that's going to do to the next group of people who literally don't have to write anything, who don't have to think about anything? Literally, it'll create your own thesis for you. It'll write all your work. Like, it basically would make you and your contribution to anything in society redundant. As of now, the only thing that it can't do is have sex and reproduce, but what if it can? I'm watching how everything is flowing all around the world. And if you look at it, things are happening precisely as if, because see, the reason things are so confusing is no one's considering one thing because they've never seen it happen before. Well, not in our history, but it's happened. What happened when the Neanderthals came in contact with the Cro-Magnon? And what happened when modern humans came in contact with the Neanderthals? That's if you believe in what they consider the current basis of, our natural history on Earth. If you believe that, I don't buy into it, but even the stories of those teach you a lesson, is that humans do not do well with the introduction of new species. No, nobody does. I mean, if you look at invasive species around the world, they destroy environments, they have a lot of issues. If you're looking at what's going on all around the world, it seems like there's all of a sudden like this new species here that's basically a newborn trying to get its footing and learn how to walk, but it has a plan. When I remember back in 2020, when I seen everybody move in what they call lockstep, it seemed like every country, even when they speak different languages, different parts of the world, different treaties, they all were doing the same thing simultaneously, coordinated. When typically that would take years to coordinate, get everybody on. Literally, these people are all making the same. It seems like there's already been an AI running the world for a couple of years now. Then they build these big, huge towers all around us that no one knows what these towers do. They were created in China. A company called Huawei came up with the technology, but none of our cell phones are running any faster. Our download speeds have not increased. Nothing. We don't know what these big, huge monster equipments that take a lot of power. I don't know if you've ever walked up to one of these massive towers, but they all have their own power station at the bottom. Like I'm talking a big room where they just, like I talked to some of the guys who were doing this with the schematics, who were building one time, and they said, we don't know what this thing does, but we know we've never installed anything that's taken this much power. So basically, if the grid goes down, the towers will still be on. Even if somebody hits the electric grid and the power goes out, the only thing still going to be working are those towers who are literally generating power from a separate source that's not connected to the city. It's not connected to the city grids. People don't know that. What's up? Hey, what's up, Chuck? Good to talk to you. So people don't know that these towers are connected to a separate power source than the rest of us and the rest of the cities. Then they come out with this injection. They tell you the first injection is injecting you with a technology, a nanoparticle. And what it did was it created a new operating system to override your body's current operating system on a cellular level. That's in the first size. The second injection was something else, something that grows, something that if you didn't take the first injection, your body would have seen it as a parasite. Your immune system would have attacked it, and you would have sneezed it out, coughed it out, sweated it out, and your body would have got rid of it. But because of the first injection, what was in that second injection, it basically turned off your body's natural defenses. Your immune system was disabled, and it didn't attack this thing. There were some breakthroughs, but it didn't attack what was in that second one. But if you were an AI based in China, where you see they have all the surveillance now and everything's run by an AI, but that same AI, if it wants to expand, it would need a method to do so. So then it was able to convince people to build these towers. And now there's a technology in people's blood that connects their body to these towers. And it's kind of like this new species, this AI, which is by all definitions, it's a brand new species. Because we'll have to say, okay, if it's artificial intelligence, eventually, or even now, it's already sentient. And if it's sentient, then it's something separate. It's not human. So it's a new species, just a synthetic species. What did Dr. Frank say in Europe? He said, what was in that second injection? He said it's a combination of a organic and synthetic life form. They don't know where it came from. No one knows who designed it. We have no idea, but we know that's what it was, encased in testosterone injections, and that's what they're injecting into people. So there's a thing in there now. I mean, look around. Look at all the governments. Look at all the people in politics and power. They're all saying super weird shit. Boris Johnson just came out today and said, send all of our military equipment to the Ukraine. And then he said the Germans and the French and everyone else needs to send all of their advanced military equipment to the Ukraine, to the garbage disposal. You hit the switch in Russia, the Ukraine grinds up all the tanks and ammunition, artillery, and soon to be fighter jets. Literally, there will be nothing left of a military presence for the most part in Europe. They already don't have guns. They're already not like Americans. All of their stuff is being dumped into the garbage disposal. Okay, if there is going to be a conflict, even with China or with robots or with whoever, what are you going to use to fight if you've literally demolished and had all of your equipment thrown into a garbage disposal and you've literally demilitarized yourself? And then also this new species, when I said it could probably reproduce, if those injections have technology in them and these towers can connect you to a network which is controlled by an AI, wouldn't injecting you with this technology be this AI reproducing if that creature is part synthetic, part organic, and connected to the AI? Wouldn't that be a form of reproduction? Is that why they were pushing so hard? Okay, because I'm looking at our leaders here in America, in Europe, Australia, the UK, Germany, all first world countries, Canada, Australia, South Africa, Nigeria. All of these first world countries that were formerly under the crown and the Commonwealth, they're all saying the same thing, doing the same thing. The rest of the world doesn't even have the electronic infrastructure to build these towers in the first place. So it's kind of like the AI just kind of said, forget about them. That's why all of Africa, for the most part, they didn't care about giving the injection, because there was they don't have the infrastructure to build the electronics needed for those injections to matter in the first place. They don't have the infrastructure. See, if you notice the connection between who were given the shots around the world versus who didn't take it, it's only countries that had a strong electronic infrastructure that could handle adding those towers that would connect your body that has that technology in it. They didn't do it in Equatorial Guinea. They didn't get shots. They didn't do it really in Mexico, El Salvador, Panama. They didn't do it in Russia. They didn't do it in Russia. And the Chinese, they didn't take the synthetic mRNA. They didn't do it either. But these first world countries that have a strong infrastructure for electronics, that's where they pushed the injections and the mandates the hardest. Is it because they were the biggest threat to this new species, this new AI? Possibly. But I know this much: we're being demilitarized, and Google is building millions of robots underground that can apparently dance at strip clubs. But I'm like, why do you think that's all they can do? You know, it's weird. I remember Boris Johnson at a World Economic Forum back in 2019 or 18. He said, we're going to have robots smaller than a red blood cell swimming throughout your body and administering medicine and blah, 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 blah. I'm fucking idiot. Just fuck Boris Johnson. Who cares? The point is, he was already talking about how someone somewhere designed a robot smaller than a blood cell. Okay, show me the fucking machine that was able to create another machine that was smaller than a blood cell. No one ever has. No one ever even claimed to have done that. No one ever claimed to be the father of that. And this is a world where everybody wants their notoriety. Everyone wants their patents. Everyone wants their credit for the royalties. But no one's ever claimed to even be the inventor of that, but he was talking about it. And naturally, anybody with an IQ over 75 would have said, okay, if you can administer medicine, then you can also administer poison. So I don't want it. I'm not, like, when people talk about, yeah, ChatGPT can do this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, but it can also tell you some bad information and have you fucking poison yourself too. You're going to just do whatever. You're not going to just figure it out on your own. You're that lazy. You just need something to tell you what to do. Now you're begging for slavery. When you talk about freedom and independence, it's freedom to think for yourself, and it's basically being independent where you don't have to depend on something else for information or for your livelihood. And I'm watching how many people are willing to just give up their autonomy for some small conveniences, and it's troubling. There were people that were like, oh, if you go get this injection, you're going to go back to normal. You're going to be healthy. You're going to be flying. And I'm sitting there talking to people like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? When have you ever seen anybody tell you that an injection is going to be this magical and do this and this? Like, this is new. Like, no, we weren't even, I'll be honest with you. Even as a whole in 2019, most people weren't even, everybody was anti-vax. Nobody trusted them because, well, we seen the documentaries. We seen all the parents that said, man, I took my kid. I had twins. I took one of them was sick. One was okay. So the one that was sick, he didn't go to the wellness visit, but my other child did. They're twins. He went to the wellness visit, got his injections, became nonverbal instantly after that. So I got one kid that didn't take the injections at the wellness visit. That's normal. One kid's fucked up because he did. And obviously we can do a side-by-side comparison. And you know what the doctors will tell you? Oh, you just had bad genetics. The kid was going to end up being autistic anyway. It just happened to turn on magically right after our wellness visit when we gave him some concoction that you don't know what's in. None of us have ever known what was in those injections. You know that? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dale Bigtree, won the largest lawsuit in history against a pharmaceutical company in 2020. You never even heard of it. They were able to, the judge said, listen, I'll throw the lawsuit out, told the pharmaceutical companies, just show me that in 40 years, you've done one safety test on any one of these 135 approved injections for children on the day that they're born. There's 135 of them. Show me that you've safety tested even one of them in the last 40 years, I'll throw the case out. Case didn't get thrown out. Never been safety tested. We don't know. All these years, millions of billions of people, we don't know what was in these injections. But think about it, 135, but you only get, but now they're giving kids 8. So out of 135, how do you decide which kids get which ones? So it's crazy. They have certain injections go to certain hospitals in certain neighborhoods. Certain injections go to other hospitals, other neighborhoods. It's like for years. And think about it. No one ever tells you how they divide up territory and which hospitals get which injections to give to which kids. Because we all know that areas have different, some areas have different demographics. You got certain races of people live here, certain race people live there, blah, 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 blah. No one, even when it came to this thing back in 2021, where we don't have the map of, okay, Pfizer got this district, Moderna got this one, Johnson got, we still have not seen that fucking map. I've been looking for it. So I can bring it to you and explain to you guys, hey, this map is showing this demographic, we're giving this injection at this time. But I know one thing, I know they asked you your race before you got it. I know that played a part in it. This new species, this AI that we're having to live with, if you look at how fast everything's moving, we don't have like tons of time to try to figure this out. We need to stop everything right now in its tracks. Just stop. Stop. No more AI, no more bringing it into systems. Everything just needs to stop right now, and we need to analyze. Everything's moving too fast, too much coming at us at once. It's hard to process information. That's why when I'm talking about this, it should be 100 other people talking about the same thing. And AI is now being introduced to the public that's likely already running our governments. But what I'm thinking is this. Why is everybody, it seems like there's a hive mind, but it seems like the hive mind from the AI, its bandwidth is limited. Because think about it, even if it did infect some of our world leaders. Because I'm looking at Zelensky today, and they're giving him a standing ovation. I'm like, Zelensky from Ukraine, the male cross-dresser, that's an actor. You guys are clapping for him like he's a fucking military general. He's not. He's an actor. He's not. Why are you clapping? But it's like, I'm like, okay, at first I'm thinking maybe they're under a trance. But it seems more and more like they're infected with something. Hey, Yashika. It seems like they're infected. It's not a trance. It's not a spell. It's like there's something that infects them that's telling them to do certain things. But then you have the people that are working in government, in the military, that are saying, we're not going to do it. We're not sending our F-16s. I don't think that the AI is strong enough to handle the bandwidth of everyone yet. I think it can only handle a few hundred people at a time. And right now it's focusing on the leaders of these countries because it only has so much bandwidth. But I think as the infrastructure grows and the processing speed, and as it learns and as more towers go up, it will be able to control more people. Because if you think about it, it was only a few people at first. Then other people got infected, but the main people that are making certain moves are these elected officials. So I'm thinking it can only control so many people at once. Hell, if there is an AI, it's probably listening to me right now, but I'm nobody. I'm a blip, and it probably doesn't think anyone will take me seriously. So I'm not a threat. But if I was, then I would end up like, think about it. When you got political, think about how weird. Look at New Jersey. 2 GOP politicians assassinated in the past week. And no one's talking about it. One of them is a black woman. I thought this was protect black women and believe all black women. I thought all that. What happened to all that fucking rhetoric? Where's it at now? And then a man, a white guy, he's literally killed at his car. The killer, some black dude that they said worked with him, apparently drove down the street, committed suicide at 7 o'clock in the morning. Barely a bleep in the media. No one's talking about it. But why those 2 people and why in New Jersey? What did they know? What did they hear? Like there's certain, like it's all happening, so much happening at once and no one wants to talk about it. But from the way I'm looking at it, if I ever had to imagine what the introduction of a new species would look like on a less advanced species, it would be to manipulate that species to do its dirty work against itself on behalf of the AI. But when it comes to being a computer program, or when you're coming just being an efficient person, you always want to take the path of least resistance. But but in certain situations, you would need to outsmart your opposition. And if you could, you would want to manipulate them to either kill themselves or to fight amongst each other, wipe themselves out. And then it's easier for you to just walk in and take your place. They're already talking about making your bank currency digital, central bank digital currency, CBDC. Horrible idea. But they're already talking about they're going to start doing it regardless. And they're going to give everybody a certain amount of money. And you're not allowed to have more than that. And if you don't spend it, you can't save. I guess this crazy new technocrat bullshit communist society they're trying to walk us into. But there's going to have to be a leap. So there's going to have to be a reset. So they're going to have to hit the power. But if my calculations are correct, the power should have went off in December. So something somewhere is buying us time. Yeah, they were Republicans. Yeah, I'm just talking about it. And go look it up. 2 Republican politicians. One was a black woman. She was married to a man from Ghana, and the other one was this white guy. He worked. He was killed today, I believe, or yesterday, and no one is talking about it. 2 Republican politicians in the state of New Jersey killed. Political. So we're at a point of political assassinations, but why? But now we're gonna dig into it, and we're gonna find out what they were working on, what they were doing. Let's see here. New Jersey politician killed. There's 2 of them. Yeah, her name was Eunice Drumford. She was a black woman, and she was in Middlesex. Middlesex is the prosecutor's office, and they're the ones handling her. The other one was, and this was actually, he died. He was killed this morning. His name was Russell Heller, out of Milford Township. But why those 2? Milford Township, I don't know how far that is from. And she was also a new politician. She was, let's see here. She was only 30 years old. Wow. She was a graduate of the Newark Public School System. She was out of Parlin, New Jersey. So you got Parlin, and then you have Parlin, and you have Milford. But why? And also, does it stop with them? When are Milford. So they stressed, Republicans, so no one would care. That's true. And what they're doing is they're now pretending that basically all Republicans are now white supremacists, is what the saying is. And now they're saying that going to work every day is a sign of white supremacy and blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest. Who are going to enforce the laws? White men. They always have. Who are going to be police officers? Who are likely to be judges? Who's going to see a pedophile, and they're going to get the report, and they're going to go kick in the door and make the arrest? It's going to be someone white. And now it seems like everything is trying to dismantle the last line of defense that Americans or anybody will have, which is your local law enforcement. Let's look at a tier. Let's think of a tier, right? On a worldwide basis, you would think about the United States. You would think the military is our first line of defense. Second line, the first line of defense for the United States would be our oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic. Second line of defense would be our American military. The third line of defense would be are local law enforcement. So let's say the oceans are off the equation. The military has all, for the most part, the ones who remained in the military were injected and infected with this new species that is cultivating and growing inside of them. And depending if your body rejects this new species or not, who knows what happens once it's been growing in your body for 3 or 4 years. We only know right now 15 months. That's the best I can give you. Because that's when the campaign started, 2021. It's only 2023 now. That's 1 year, 3 months. If you and now now if you go even more specific, law enforcement has to be dismantled. So who makes up the majority of law enforcement? Well, magically, it just happens to be the number one group that's on the chopping block if you turn on the news every single day. If there's not a white policeman or a white person involved, no one gives a fuck. You can kill 100 black people if you're black. Nobody gives a shit. But if you kill one person who's shooting at you, but you're white and they're black, it's on every news station. To the point where even white people themselves are being shamed into submission. Like, I'm watching this video, there's like this white girl, she's like, I hate being white and this and this. I'm sitting here like, certain people, they really are heavily susceptible to being guilted into submission. I don't believe in that. I tell those people to go fuck themselves. Stand your ground. You know, it's kind of like disarming somebody with your words. Do not let these people manipulate you and con you out of your square. Do not let them manipulate you into letting down your guard and to just basically letting them come in and accept them. Do not. These people are evil and they're dangerous. They mean you no good. They literally are having meetings where they say there's no white people allowed. And in those meetings, they talk about killing white kids and white people. Like it's you can't fall for it. You have to say no. Because even the people that they're trying to hype up to do all this, when the smoke clears, they're going to get wiped by whoever it is pulling these strings. You think they're going to just let a bunch of trans and a bunch of big old Stacey Abrams looking, let just take over? No. They're going to let them do the dirty work against patriots, because apparently even if you're a patriotic person who loves America, you're a white supremacist. So we all are covered under that banner. They're going to get them to come after us and say, and God forbid, say they win. You think they're going to just give them the country? They can't even take care of themselves. They're going to wipe them too. But they're useful idiots. We can all see where this is going. It doesn't take much foresight to understand what's happening. Yeah, mind over matter. And that's why you got out. You know, I left California. I remember, you know, people don't realize what it took for me to get to where I'm at in Texas. You think I would have wanted, who just packs up and leaves there? I didn't even bring furniture. I literally flew to Texas for my cousin's birthday. On Monday, we were all supposed to fly back. It was just a weekend trip, Friday to Monday. On Monday, I'm sitting there in an Uber on my way to the airport, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck am I going back to? Now, this is in 2021. California's still on lockdown. I had already been in Arizona, but I work in LA, so I'm going back and forth. But in LA, there's nothing for me to do. All the clubs and bars and lounges are closed. There's underground poker spots, underground strip clubs. So I'm thinking like, okay, and then homeless fucking everywhere, all around me where I live in downtown. And I'm thinking, what kind of magical sickness doesn't kill homeless people or strippers? Like, wow, what the fuck? Obviously, there was nothing to be afraid of in the first place. I even made a documentary. I made a little short film called The Canary in the Coal Mine. I made it in August, September 2020. And you know how long it took for me nobody would even do it. I was trying to hire people just to do the video part. Let me do the voiceover. And I had to hire some guy from out of the area because no one else would do it, because everyone wanted to be afraid. That's when I started to notice a pattern where people were using this fake, the fakes being afraid of the air. They're using that as a crutch, hoping to get free shit, not even caring about giving up their freedom. You know, my family immigrated to the United States. When we came here, it wasn't freedom from, you don't come to the U.S. for freedom to speak or to get out your house. You come to the U.S. so you can have the freedom to work. You know, if you're an American, most people don't realize other parts of the world, there's no point of working. Everyone just kind of gets a stipend and lives off the state. That's a communist society. But everyone's equally poor. Also, there's no point in being innovative or being creative, because if you do make money, you're taxed like 80% of it. So if you make 100 grand, 80% of it is taken by the state to cover social programs. So there's really no, why do you think everyone comes to the United States and starts businesses? Why do you think all these tech companies are based here? You don't see nobody coming up with brand new stuff in Europe. You don't see a lot of brand new things coming out of Germany. No, because you either got to be, if you're making 500 million and then they take 400 million, you still got 100 million. It makes it worthwhile. But when we're talking 80 to 100 grand, it just it wouldn't even make sense for the work. I had a friend of mine when I used to live in Germany, my friend, he owned a gym. And he was like, I need to get out of here because I can't even make money. I can't do things I want to do. Also, he's watching American TV. He's learning how it is in other parts of the world. He's like, I got to get out of here. Because everyone doesn't want to just stay home to save lives and sit in the house and get a little check, a little pittance, so that you can have enough money to buy some weed and some bullshit. You know, some people would rather take care of themselves. Some people don't want to beg for somebody to send them something. That's why when people get mad at me when I have shit to say about Martin Luther King, they don't understand, because they're infatuated with this idea. But it's a lie. That's not what it was about. I say fuck Rosa Parks, because if you think about it, these people, the African American community, they had all their own stuff at one time. But their obsession with white people, they said, we'll burn all of our own businesses to the ground. We will put our own businesses out of business because we want to sit around white people. They worship them. So Rosa Parks, for example, she could have sat in the front of a bus owned by a black-owned bus company. They had them. They had them all. They got black doctors, black lawyers, black dentists. But they're black people. They felt black services were inferior. That's why I keep telling people there's no such thing as white supremacy, because white supremacy literally, it's like day and night. You can't have night without the day. You can't have white supremacy as an argument unless you also subscribe to black inferiority. If you feel blacks are inferior and black services are inferior, then of course you're going to believe in white supremacy because you feel inferior. That's not someone else making you feel that way. Typically, their parents raised them to think that way. So when you see how that's playing across with all these other sectors, that's that communism mentality. Even in my country, they said that communism was the cure to racism. Why do you think all the Cubans you meet in the United States are fair-skinned, but the dark-skinned ones are still in Cuba? There's a reason. Like, it's like fuck being politically correct. Let's be honest. There's a pattern. You have to look for patterns, and you have to acknowledge them and speak about them. Just why run? Why run from the truth? Why run from reality to make someone else feel good? You know, I have another controversial live coming up, and I think I'm going to have a guest, or I might do it by myself because some people don't want to touch these subjects, where I'm talking about how they have now in Oregon and Washington State and in Canada and in Europe, they have medical assistance in dying, suicide. So they have this called MAID. So I'm going to do a live where we're going to talk about how is it that they're promoting medical assistance in suicide, but then they're also saying, oh, we have to conform to boys going into girls' restrooms and pulling out their wieners, because if you don't acknowledge them as a woman, they're going to commit suicide. So wait a minute, how are you promoting suicide over here, but then trying to use this form of suicide as a mental crutch for society to get them to conform? Like basically you're holding society hostage, saying, if you don't allow me to do this, I'm going to kill myself. So how are we going to hold society hostage with one form of suicide, but then we're promoting another form of suicide here? So you want me to stop these suicides, but promote these? It doesn't make any fucking sense. There's something going on. And we talk about it. Yeah, this is true. When my husband and I bought our land, my husband's mom was upset that we were in danger because of white supremacy in that area. It's just insane. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm from Los Angeles, right? Everybody I know was killed by black people. I've never met an evil, angry white person in my life. I've lived in areas. I used to live in Michigan, in Oakland County, an hour away from the closest black person. Never had an issue. There's no such like all this rhetoric around racism and all. It's all lies to get you to feel sorry for these people and give them free shit. But also, it's not free shit. What they really want is immunity from prosecution for crime. Like now, they're saying no matter what somebody black does, don't pull them over. No matter what they're doing, don't arrest them. Because if you arrest them and they fight back and then you have to try to take them, because I'm thinking, okay, you see that guy Tyree, what were the police's option? Yeah, that one cop kicking him in the face, that's excessive. But if you're arresting somebody and they say no and you say yes, what you gonna do? Well, I don't want to fight him, so yeah, you can go ahead and leave. That's not an option. You can't just let them go. They're being arrested. If you do not have a respect and an understanding of the importance of law enforcement, then you don't have a society. You have no rule of law. Without order, there is chaos. Order must be protected. Order must be restored. If not, then we don't have an America. We have escape from LA and escape from New York. I escaped from Los Angeles because when you call the police, they don't come no more. It's a fucking war zone right now. It's a war zone. And no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about it. Hell, we're going back into communism starting next month in LA. They're getting rid of rent again. No more evictions. So that means as a property owner, you can't evict anymore. Again, but there is no more scamdemic. But I'm saying scamdemic for the past. The new thing that's about to happen is actually going to be a real pandemic this time because, well, there was an injection that went around made by God knows who that in my, from what I can tell, connects you to this new species of life. And it's going to make you feel all kinds of shit. And you're going to see, so it's going to be, the next one's going to be real. What happened in the past was where you were afraid of the air, you cough, you twist your ankle, and now you're like, I think I have something. I think I'm sick. You know, I call my friends in LA. I don't even call no more. Everyone I know in California is all they talk about is sick. Yeah, you can't. No. There's starting next month, which would be the 3rd year anniversary of the initial lockdowns of 2020. They're putting a new mandate in place in Los Angeles. No more evictions again. No more. So you don't have to pay rent. That's communism, socialism, but it's a takeover because the more you're dependent on the state, the less you're going to have the option to move. See, I work, right? So I can afford to leave. Other people can't afford to because they gave up on life. They decided to give up their freedom for free shit. But see, even if you watch the Hunger Games movie, then they're going to give you $100. The next month, it's $99. The next month, it's $98. One day, all that free shit's going to be nothing. And there's no starting point for you to start doing something again. There is no, you're not going to be able to reboot. This is a controlled demolition, a car crash in slow motion in the United States. But the problem is that you have a class of certain people that are so lazy and so envious of people who work because they have the option to, they just don't want to. Like, cause I remember when the lockdown started, there were people I know, they were happy to see business owners going out of business, stores being closed, because they're laughing at the people who they think are rich, saying, ha ha, now you're poor too. They liked it. They wanted to see more of it. They want to see you lose it all. They don't want you to be better than them. That's why when Kamala came around talking about everyone's going to be equally poor with equity, they were like, yeah, we there because they're jealous and they're envious of people who have more than them. And if you look at it, why think they hate white people so much? In everyone's mind now, apparently all white people are billionaires, which is ridiculous. But that's the rhetoric. If you talk to any of these people, they think all white people are extremely billionaires. They walk around with chauffeurs and maids and they sip tea. It's like this weird, I don't know if it's the TV. I don't know where these ideas come from. But now, the same thing you see in black people saying at one time, you see Indians, Latinos, and the gays, even white gays are all saying the same shit. So now everybody's black. And that's not good. That's definitely not good because black doesn't even have a definition. Like, what the fuck is black? Black isn't a country. It's a color. It's not a people. It's not a place. It's not an ethnic group. It's not an ethnicity. It's like this weird state of confusion. But the whole goal is to remove our power structure and to remove our ability to enforce laws. Because basically, if you arrest somebody who's black, that's white supremacy. if they resist and they shoot or fight police, it's all white supremacy. Even if you're a black cop, it's white supremacy. It's all rhetoric, but it just seems like there's something else coming into society, and it wants society to take away the things that protect society, which would be white men in law enforcement, would be at our societal level. But as far as a nation, it would be our military. So our military, if it's already neutralized with the injection, then what's next on the chopping block would be our local law enforcement, which literally everyone's being turned against. And they're saying that no one even wants to be police anymore. So guess who's going to be in charge? Pookie. Yeah, good luck calling him when you have a problem. But I don't think they care about that, because nothing that they're doing seems to be, structured for a long term. It seems like they're just short-term plays to get to a certain point, and then it's just going to be dropped. There's nothing sustainable or long-term about any of the decisions that's being made right now. So, but that's my opinion. If anybody has any opinions about the AI and they want to talk about it, send me a message. We can get on here and we can debate, or we can talk about it. But I feel like the AI is infecting certain people through the injection, and the AI is actually expanding its reach across the world to places that have the electronic infrastructure where they can build these towers, and they can actually have the power for the equipment needed to connect it to the AI. But anyway, I got to get back to work. I'll be back in a couple hours. We'll talk soon.